Zixtal adjusted his ceremonial assassin's robe in the mirror of his quarters aboard the Verdaxian diplomatic vessel. His iridescent scales shimmered with pride as he reviewed his latest assignment from the High Council. His orders were simple: arrange for an accident for the human to keep their kind out of space a little longer. Under no circumstance was he to outright kill him, as this could cause an interstellar incident and bring the Galactic Council, those meddling idiots, to focus on the Verdaxians. After 147 successful eliminations, this would surely be his easiest yet. "Computer, display target information again," he chirped, his head crest rising with anticipation. The holographic display flickered to life. Target: Dave Thompson Species, Human Sol 3 Earth Occupation, Station Maintenance Engineer, Delta 9 Threat Level, Negligible, Primitive Species, a maintenance worker from a gravity well planet that hasn't even achieved unified planetary government. Zixtal scoffed, his secondary eyelids blinking in amusement. The council must be joking. His assistant AI chirped, warning, reviewing available data on humans suggests. "Cancel warning," Zixtal interrupted. "I've heard all the ridiculous rumors. Deathworlders, they say, can survive losing entire limbs, they claim, can repair their own broken bones while conscious, they insist." He waved a scaled hand dismissively. Obviously exaggerated tales from lesser species. The AI tried again. Multiple sources confirm. Enough. Zixtal's crest flattened in annoyance. "I refuse to believe a species that still uses combustion engines for planetary transport could pose any challenge. They don't even have proper genetic modification technology." He gathered his equipment, carefully selecting his finest toxins and most elaborate traps. "This Dave character is simply a maintenance worker who somehow convinced the station council to allow a primitive aboard. It's practically my duty to remove him before he accidentally destroys something valuable." As Zixtal boarded his shuttle to Station Delta 9, he reviewed his initial plan. "I'll start with something simple. Perhaps the neurotoxin from the Crimson Peaks of Vega Versevent. Even the hardiest species can't survive that." The shuttle's AI made one final attempt. "Sir, regarding humans and toxins, log entry," Zixtal announced, ignoring the AI completely. "Beginning operation remove primitive. Estimated completion time, 1 standard cycle. Method, elegant and untraceable. This will be my easiest assignment yet." The shuttle docked with Station Delta 9, and Zixtal slithered gracefully into the arrival area, his ceremonial robes replaced with standard diplomatic attire. As he checked in with station security, a loud whistling echoed down the corridor. A pink-skinned biped in a grease-stained jumpsuit walked past, carrying what appeared to be a primitive kinetic energy tool called a wrench. The human was actually whistling an off-key tune, while heading toward the station's primary reactor section. "Excuse me," the human paused, smiling broadly at Zixtal. "You look lost. Need directions?" "No thank you," Zixtal replied stiffly, fighting the urge to recoil from the primitive. "I am quite capable of navigating." "Sure thing. Name's Dave, by the way. If you need anything fixed, just give me a shout." The human continued whistling as he walked away. Zixtal watched him go, his crest twitching in disbelief. This was his target. This cheerful, disheveled creature. "This will be over by dinner," he muttered, slithering toward his assigned quarters. What could possibly go wrong? The station's AI monitoring the exchange added a note to its logs: probability of amusing events in next 24 hours 98.7%. Activating entertainment recording protocols. Zixtal had spent 3 hours meticulously preparing the perfect scenario. The vial of Verdaxian fire extract sat innocently on his desk, a substance so potent it was classified as a Class 1 biological weapon on 17 different worlds. Even a single drop had been known to dissolve the digestive systems of most carbon-based life forms. He'd carefully crafted his cover story, a diplomatic gesture of sharing his homeworld's cultural heritage. The liquid's deep red color and slight luminescence made it appear exotic enough to pique interest, but not suspicious enough to trigger the station's security protocols. When Dave arrived at the station's communal dining area for his lunch break, Zixtal was ready. He'd positioned himself at the perfect intersection of casual and deliberate. "Ah, Dave," Zixtal called out, forcing his crest to remain relaxed despite his anticipation. "I wanted to thank you for your welcome yesterday. I brought a traditional delicacy from my homeworld to share." Dave's face lit up with genuine interest. "No kidding. That's awesome. I love trying new things. What is it?" "This," Zixtal said reverently, removing the ornate vial, "is the sacred fire extract of Vittori Dax Prime. Our warriors use it in coming-of-age ceremonies. Very few species can even handle being in the same room with an open container." He paused dramatically. "I wouldn't normally offer it to a less advanced species, but you seemed friendly." Dave peered at the vial with childlike curiosity. "Neat. Is it like a hot sauce?" "Hot sauce?" Zixtal's translator struggled with the concept. "Yeah, you know, spicy stuff you put on food to give it kick." "Well, actually it's a highly dangerous, yes, something like that." Zixtal corrected himself smoothly. "Though I should warn you, even a single drop has been known to cause immediate cis." Before he could finish his warning, Dave had already uncapped the vial and dumped a generous portion over his food cube. "Wait," Zixtal's crest stood straight up in horror. "That's enough to kill a kraken beast." Dave took a huge bite and chewed thoughtfully. His face reddened slightly. "Oh man," Dave said, grinning. "This is great. Has a nice kick to it, kind of like a mix between ghost pepper and Trinidad scorpion. Could use a bit more heat though. You got any more?" Zixtal's jaw dropped, his scales turning pale. "More heat? Yeah, this would be perfect for the chili cook-off next week. Been looking for something to give my recipe an edge." Dave proceeded to finish his entire meal, then licked the remaining sauce from his fork. "Mind if I keep this? I'll bring you some of my chili when I make it." "But you should be dead," Zixtal whispered, his crest drooping in confusion. "What was that?" I said. "It's all yours," Zixtal managed weakly. "Thanks, buddy. You're the best." Dave checked his chronometer. "Oops, break's over. Got a plasma conduit leak to fix. See you around." As Dave walked away, whistling again, Zixtal slumped in his seat. He pulled out his communicator and made a log entry. Day 1, Attempt 1. Failed. Subject appeared to enjoy the deadliest poison in the Verdaxian arsenal. Note to self: research ghost pepper and Trinidad scorpion. Possibly new biological weapons. Also, what in the name of the 7 moons is a chili cook-off? In the corner, the station's AI quietly adjusted its entertainment recording settings to maximum quality. After the humiliating failure of the fire extract, Zixtal spent 2 days observing human physiology files. Though most were heavily redacted due to humanity's paranoid information control, one fact stood out: humans required constant atmospheric pressure and oxygen to survive. It seemed obvious in retrospect. They evolved on a gravity well planet with an atmosphere, after all. Simple problems require simple solutions, Zixtal muttered as he sabotaged the airlock control panel in Maintenance Section 7B. His scales rippled with satisfaction as he encrypted the override with a Verdaxian military-grade lockout sequence. Even the station's AI would need hours to crack it. Right on schedule, Dave's comm badge chirped with the maintenance alert Zixtal had fabricated. The human's cheerful voice responded immediately. "On my way. Probably just those pressure seals acting up again." Zixtal positioned himself around the corner, secondary eyelids widening in anticipation. As soon as Dave entered the airlock to check the seals, he would trigger the emergency purge. The human would be exposed to hard vacuum for at least 15 minutes before anyone could override his lockout. Dave's whistling echoed down the corridor. Today it was something about taking the last train to Georgia, whatever that meant. Zixtal's crest twitched in irritation. Did the human ever stop making noise? "Hey Zex," Dave called out, spotting him. "Come to help with the maintenance." Zixtal froze. This wasn't part of the plan. "I was just passing through." Perfect timing then. Could use an extra set of hands. These seals can be tricky. Before Zixtal could protest, Dave had grabbed his arm and pulled him into the airlock. The assassin's scales went pale as the inner door sealed behind them. "Now let's see what's wrong with these." "Huh, that's weird." Dave frowned at the control panel. Systems showing some kind of encryption. Must be a glitch. Zixtal watched in horror as Dave pulled out his wrench and popped open the control panel. "Wait, don't." The panel sparked. Warning klaxons blared. The outer door suddenly cycled open, and both of them were yanked towards space. Dave grabbed Zixtal with one hand and a support strut with the other. "Hang on, buddy. Bit of a pressure problem." Zixtal's ceremonial robes flapped violently as the air rushed past them. His species could survive vacuum for exactly 47 seconds. By his count, they were at 15 seconds and climbing. "No problem," Dave shouted over the wind. "Just need to." He swung them toward the manual override, slammed his wrench against it twice, and somehow hit the exact sequence needed to seal the outer door. The emergency repressurization kicked in. As atmosphere returned, Zixtal lay gasping on the deck. Dave just stood up, brushed off his jumpsuit, and checked his toolkit. "You okay there? That was a close one." Dave helped Zixtal up. "Good thing I've had vacuum exposure training, though this was way longer than the usual 30-second emergency drill." "How long were we exposed?" Zixtal wheezed. "Oh, about 2 minutes I'd guess. Not too bad. Had worse during my EVA certification." Dave was already examining the control panel again. "Weird encryption though. Almost looks like, nah, couldn't be military-grade stuff out here." 2 minutes. Zixtal's crest drooped completely. "Yeah, sorry if that was scary for you. Tell you what, I'm making that chili tonight with your hot sauce. Come by the mess hall, it'll warm you right up." Dave patted him on the shoulder and headed out, already whistling again. Zixtal slumped against the wall and updated his log. Day 4, attempt 2. Failed. Subject survived hard vacuum exposure while saving my life. Note: humans apparently consider 2 minutes of vacuum exposure not too bad. Additional note: must research this EVA certification. Final note: I may need to rethink my career choices. In the station's security office, 3 different species were gathered around a monitor, watching the recorded footage and placing bets on what the increasingly frustrated assassin would try next. After the airlock fiasco, Zixtal spent a week nursing his wounded pride and researching more creative solutions. In his quarters, he carefully removed a containment vessel from his diplomatic pouch. Inside, suspended in a stasis field, floated spores from the notorious mind-death fungus of Rigel 6. "The perfect weapon," he muttered, his crest rising with renewed confidence. "One exposure causes total neural collapse in 94% of known species, the other 6% experience excruciating pain before death." The plan was elegant: release the spores into the station's maintenance shaft, while Dave worked on the environmental systems. The human would never know what hit him. Zixtal checked his chronometer. Dave always inspected Junction 47 at exactly 1400 hours. He positioned himself near a monitoring station, ready to observe through the security feeds. Right on schedule, Dave arrived, this time singing something about Lucy in the sky with diamonds. Zixtal triggered the remote release of the spores. The deadly purple cloud enveloped Dave completely. Zixtal leaned forward, anticipating the human's imminent collapse. Instead, Dave paused mid-verse and looked around in wonder. "Who'd?" Dave's voice came through the comm system. "Dude, Zix, you gotta come see this. The maintenance shaft is like breathing colors, and check out these fractals on the power conduits." Zixtal's crest flattened in disbelief. "What? The lights are doing this amazing dance thing," Dave continued, sounding extremely relaxed. "Man, this reminds me of that time at Burning Man when, hey, you think the replicator could make some snacks? I'm getting seriously hungry. The deadliest neurotoxin in the galaxy is giving you munchies." Zixtal hissed in frustration. "Oh hey, is that what this purple stuff is? It's awesome. Everything's so groovy. The quantum harmonics are like singing to me, man." Dave chuckled, then added, "Actually, I think I can see why the power efficiency is down 2%. The patterns are showing me exactly where the misalignment is." To Zixtal's continued horror, Dave proceeded to make several complex adjustments to the power systems, humming contentedly the entire time. The station's efficiency readings immediately improved to record levels. "There we go, all fixed." Dave emerged from the maintenance shaft, his eyes slightly unfocused but bright. "Hey, you wanna get some pizza? I'm thinking about ordering like 5 of them, with everything. And maybe some of those blue alien cookies from last week. But you should be experiencing total neural collapse." Zixtal sputtered. "What was that?" "Sorry, I'm a little distracted by how amazing your scales look right now. They're like shifting through dimensions or something." Dave grinned. "Actually, this is pretty mild compared to that mushroom incident in college. Remember that chili I made last week? That was way more intense." Zixtal slumped against the wall as Dave wandered off toward the mess hall, now singing about following white rabbits. Log entry, Day 12, Attempt 3. Failed spectacularly. Target appears to have processed the mind-death fungus as some sort of recreational substance. Station efficiency has somehow improved 23%. Note to self, research Burning Man and college mushroom incident. Additional note, consider marketing mind-death fungus as human party drug. In the station's security office, the betting pool had tripled in size. The station's AI had started selling highlight reels of the failed attempts, with proceeds going to the station's recreation fund. Meanwhile, Dave ordered those 5 pizzas and shared them with the entire maintenance crew, regaling them with stories about the totally rad light show in Junction 47, completely unaware that he'd just survived his 3rd assassination attempt of the week. Chapter 5, Gravity Games. After the psychedelic fungal incident, Zixtal had spent 3 days in deep meditation, trying to understand how everything had gone so wrong. The answer came to him while watching Dave repair a gravity plating malfunction in the cargo bay. "Of course," he whispered, his scales shimmering with inspiration. "They evolved on a heavy gravity world. Surely extreme gravitational stress would." The plan took 2 days to implement. As Delta 9's newest diplomatic liaison, Zixtal had access to certain station systems. With careful manipulation, he programmed a cascading gravity failure in Engineering Section 12, Dave's primary workspace. The trap was elegant. Starting at standard 1G, the gravity would increase by 1G every 30 seconds until reaching 15G. Even species from high-gravity worlds couldn't function past 8G without mechanical assistance. At 15G, organic beings typically, became much flatter. Maintenance alert, gravity fluctuation in Engineering Section 12, the station AI announced right on cue. Dave's cheerful voice responded over the comm. "Probably those new graviton regulators acting up again." Zixtal watched through the security feed as Dave entered the section. The gravity began its steady increase. At 3G, Dave merely adjusted his stance. That's odd." At 5G,
He was moving slower but still functional. Reminds me of that centrifuge training. At 8G, while Zixtal's crest rose in anticipation, Dave actually started doing push-ups. Great workout opportunity. Been slacking on my exercise routine lately. At 12G, Dave was still conscious and moving, though now crawling along the floor toward the control panel. Bit heavy today, isn't it? Good thing I did all that resistance training on Jupiter Station.
Just before the gravity hit 15G, Dave reached the panel, and with visible effort managed to override the program. The gravity gradually returned to normal. Dave stood up, stretched, and cracked his neck. Nothing better than a good strength training session. Though the timing was weird, right in the middle of my shift. He pulled out his diagnostic tool and frowned at the readings. These patterns, they look almost like that encrypted stuff from the airlock incident. "Hey Zix," he called out, having spotted the assassin's observation position. "You're good with computers, right? Come take a look at this." Zixtal reluctantly slithered forward, his scales slightly pale. "You seem to have handled the gravity increase well." "Oh yeah, not as intense as the training sims, but still fun. Did you know they put us through 20G in emergency procedures training? Something about being prepared for worst-case scenarios during atmospheric re-entry." Dave grinned, wiping sweat from his forehead. "Though usually I wear a pressure suit for anything above 15G, safety regulations and all that." 20G, Zixtal's voice was barely a whisper. "Yep, hey, while you're here, want to join me for some low-grav racquetball later? The rec deck has this awesome variable gravity court. Really gets the blood pumping." "I need to go lie down," Zixtal managed weakly. "Sure thing. Let me know if you change your mind about racquetball," Dave called after him, already back to whistling while examining the gravity controls. Log entry, Day 17, Attempt 4, failed miserably. Subject used lethal gravity trap as exercise opportunity. Apparently humans routinely train at gravity levels that would liquefy most species. Note to self: research Jupiter stations and atmospheric re-entry. Additional note: never accept invitation to human sporting activities. In the security office, the betting pool had gone station-wide. 3 different gambling rings had sprung up, taking bets on both the next assassination method and Dave's likely positive spin on surviving it. The station's AI had started a highlight channel called Human vs. Assassin. The failed files, which had become the highest-rated entertainment feed in the sector. Meanwhile, Dave added unexpected gravity workout to his daily log and started planning improvements to the station's graviton regulators, completely oblivious to the fact that he'd just survived his 4th assassination attempt while doing calisthenics. After the gravity debacle, Zixtal had done extensive research on Earth's environmental extremes. The data seemed impossible. Humans lived in places ranging from -50 degrees Celsius to +50 degrees C, with minimal technological assistance. Surely there had to be limits. His 2-phase plan was masterful. First, trap Dave in the cryogenic storage unit. Then, after rescue, manipulate the environmental controls in the rescue area to create an instant heat wave. No species could survive such rapid temperature extremes. Phase 1 began with a fake maintenance request for the cryo storage unit. As Dave entered, Zixtal remotely sealed the door and dropped the temperature to -80 degrees Celsius. "Hey," Dave's voice crackled over the comm. "Door seems stuck, and it's getting a bit chilly in here." Zixtal watched through thermal imaging as the temperature plummeted. Dave simply zipped up his maintenance jumpsuit and pulled a knit cap from his pocket. "Reminds me of ice fishing in Minnesota, though I should have brought my thermos of coffee." Dave began humming Winter Wonderland while continuing his inspection of the cryo units. After 15 minutes at temperatures that would shatter most species, Dave had not only survived, but had actually fixed 3 malfunctioning cryopods. Found the problem. Someone had reversed the thermal coupling. Easy fix. Time for phase 2. As soon as Dave was rescued, Zixtal triggered the environmental controls in the adjacent chamber to maximum heat meet, roughly 70 degrees Celsius. Dave stepped through the door, still brushing frost off his jumpsuit. Ooh! Talk about extreme temperature changes. This is like that time I went from an ice bath straight into the sauna after the Siberian marathon. Instead of collapsing, Dave actually started removing layers. Perfect timing though, was getting a bit too cold in there. This heat feels great for thawing out, but the temperature differential should have sent you into shock. Zixtal blurted out from his observation post. Nah, this is nothing. You should try Death Valley in summer after skiing in Alaska. Now that's a temperature shock. Dave stretched contentedly. Actually, this reminds me of working maintenance on those volcanic thermal vents in Iceland, though that was more like 100 degrees Celsius with the steam. You work in volcanic vents. Zixtal's crest drooped in disbelief. Sure, great experience for space station work. Extreme environments, you know. Though the pressure suits get pretty uncomfortable, above 150 degrees Celsius. Dave checked his diagnostic tool. Hey, the environmental controls are showing that same weird encryption pattern again. We should really get the security team to look into that. I need to reconsider some life choices, Zixtal muttered. What was that? Nothing. Carry on. Log entry. Day 21. Attempt 5. Complete failure. Subject treated lethal temperature extremes as mild inconvenience. Compared -80 degrees Celsius to recreational activity called ice fishing. Referenced casual work in volcanic vents. Note to self, research Death Valley, Siberian Marathon, and Iceland. Additional note, humans may be literally indestructible. In the security office, the betting pool had expanded to include representatives from 3 different space stations. A documentary crew had requested permission to film the unkillable human and his determined assassin. The station's AI had started selling merchandise, including t-shirts reading, "I survived extreme temperatures, and all I got was this t-shirt," with Dave's smiling face on them. Meanwhile, Dave added, "Check environmental control encryption" to his to-do list, and headed to the mess hall for some hot chocolate. Completely unaware that he'd just survived his 5th assassination attempt, while performing routine maintenance in conditions that would kill most species. Zixtal had finally cracked it. The solution was so obvious: every species needed rest. Even humans, with their inexplicable resilience to everything else, required sleep. The station's medical database confirmed it. Humans typically needed 6 to 8 hours of sleep per cycle. Perfect. Over the next 3 days, Zixtal orchestrated a series of carefully timed emergencies throughout the station. Plasma leaks, atmosphere fluctuations, power grid failures, all requiring immediate maintenance attention. Each one calculated to interrupt Dave's sleep cycle. By day 4, dark circles had formed under Dave's eyes, but he kept responding to each crisis with the same irritating cheerfulness. "You know," Dave said, hanging upside down in a Jefferies tube, while rewiring a power coupling at 0300 hours, "this is actually easier than finals week back at MIT. At least these emergencies make sense. Unlike quantum thermodynamics at 4 a.m. after your 6th energy drink." Zixtal, monitoring from his usual hidden position, felt his crest twitch. "You're not even tired." "Oh, I'm exhausted," Dave admitted, somehow managing to whistle between sentences. "But this is nothing compared to that triple shift I pulled during the lunar base crisis. Now that was rough. 5 days straight, with only power naps between reactor alignments. 5 days. Yeah. Good times. Though not as bad as my residency rotation in the Mars Medical Center." Try doing emergency surgery after being awake for 72 hours during a dust storm. Dave finished the repairs and dropped down from the tube. Anyone want coffee? I'm making a fresh pot. The next 12 hours brought more emergencies, but Dave seemed to enter some kind of second wind. By hour 96, without proper sleep, he was actually getting more efficient at repairs. It's like being back in college, Dave explained while simultaneously fixing 3 different systems. You hit this point where everything gets kind of fuzzy but super clear at the same time, you know? Like that time I wrote my thesis, debugged the station's AI, and won the campus pizza eating contest all in the same sleepless week. Zixtal watched in horror as Dave started explaining complex engineering principles to a potted plant while recalibrating the station's main reactor. The worst part, the calibration was perfect. Should we call medical? A concerned Andromean engineer asked. Already did, Zixtal replied miserably. They said his vital signs are within normal parameters for a sleep-deprived human, and something about impressive alpha wave patterns. Dave wandered past, now having an animated discussion with his wrench about the philosophical implications of quantum tunneling, while simultaneously improving the station's power efficiency by 15%. Did you know, Dave called out to no one in particular, that if you look at the reactor core just right, it starts looking like a giant disco ball. Reminds me of that 96-hour hackathon, where we reprogrammed the university's entire defense network while having a dance party. Log entry, day 25, attempt 6, catastrophic failure. Subject appears to gain new abilities when sleep deprived. Station systems operating at unprecedented efficiency levels. Note to self, research hackathon, finals week, and energy drinks. Additional note, humans may actually become more dangerous without sleep. The betting pool had now attracted the attention of several major gambling syndicates. The station's AI had started a new reality show called Sleepless in Space, The Dave Chronicles, which had become must-watch entertainment across 3 sectors. Eventually Dave crashed for 14 hours straight, but only after completing every outstanding maintenance request in the station's database, solving 3 unsolvable engineering problems, and teaching the station's AI to appreciate jazz music. When he woke up, he remembered everything perfectly, and suggested they schedule regular maintenance marathons, calling it just like a fun college all-nighter. Zixtal seriously considered retiring. Zixtal sat in his quarters, staring at his reflection. His scales had lost their luster, and his crest hung permanently limp. After 6 failed attempts, he was beginning to question reality itself. Computer, confirm, is Dave Thompson actually real? Affirmative. Human life signs detected in engineering section 3. Are you sure I'm not hallucinating? Perhaps I've been exposed to some psychotropic compound. Your biological readings are normal, though your stress levels are elevated. Zixtal had spent the last week researching human vulnerabilities and had finally found something promising. Humans, like all organic life, were susceptible to radiation. The station's medical database confirmed lethal doses for humans were surprisingly low compared to their other resistances. The plan was simple: sabotage the radiation shielding around the auxiliary reactor during Dave's inspection, exposing him to what the database claimed was 10 times the lethal dose. As Dave entered the reactor chamber, Zixtal remotely disabled the shielding. Warning klaxons blared. Radiation containment failure, the station AI announced. Danger, extreme radiation levels detected. Huh, Dave's voice came over the comm completely calm. Looks like the shielding's down. Better fix that before someone gets hurt. Zixtal watched the radiation readings climb to horrifying levels. Dave just kept working, humming, walking on sunshine while making adjustments. Hey Zix, Dave called out,
somehow knowing the assassin was watching. You might want to stay back. The radiation's pretty high in here. Nothing serious for me. Reminds me of that summer I spent lifeguarding at the beach. Though I should have brought sunscreen. Getting a nice tan though. A tan. Zixtal's voice cracked. Yeah, you know when human skin darkens from radiation exposure, usually from sunlight, but reactor radiation works too. Though the doctor says I should be more careful after that incident at Chernobyl cleanup site. Dave continued working, apparently unbothered by radiation levels that would reduce most species to their component atoms. Chernobyl, Zixtal whispered, his reality crumbling further. Oh man, what a job that was. Makes this look like a sunny day at the beach. There we were, right next to the elephant's foot, trying to, hey, you okay? You're looking a bit green. Well, greener than usual. Zixtal had slumped against the wall, his crest completely flat. You're not real. This isn't real. I'm in a simulation, or in hell. Yes, that must be it. Real as they come. Dave emerged from the reactor room, his skin noticeably darker and slightly reddened. Though I might be peeling tomorrow. Should have packed my SPF 50. At least it's not as bad as that time I got sunburned skiing in Colorado. Now that was radiation exposure. But, the readings you should be, how? Just another day at the office. Dave grinned, checking his reflection in a polished panel. Actually, this is perfect timing. I've been meaning to work on my tan before the station's beach party next week. You should come. I'm bringing my famous radioactive chili. Log entry, day 32, attempt 7. Reality itself has failed me. Subject treated lethal radiation exposure as tanning opportunity. Referenced casual work at something called Chernobyl. Note to self, research SPF 50 and skiing sunburns. Additional note, considering career change to meditation instructor. The betting pool had now attracted the attention of several xenobiologists who were furiously taking notes. The station's AI had started a new fashion trend with Dave's radiation tan trademark becoming the most requested cosmetic procedure in the sector. Meanwhile, Dave applied some aloe vera to his mild sunburn and added radiation-proof sunscreen to his shopping list, completely unaware that he'd just survived his 7th assassination attempt while getting what he called a pretty decent base tan. In his quarters, Zixtal began researching peaceful religious orders that accepted reformed assassins, preferably ones located very, very far from Earth. Zixtal had abandoned all pretense of sanity. After watching Dave survive everything from deadly toxins to lethal radiation with nothing worse than a sunburn and the munchies, he'd reached a conclusion. If Dave wasn't a hallucination, he must be some kind of immortal entity masquerading as a maintenance worker. The solution? Create a situation so catastrophic that even an immortal couldn't maintain their cover without revealing their true nature. It took days of preparation, carefully orchestrated system failures, precisely timed malfunctions, all culminating in what should be a cascade of disasters that would force the evacuation of Delta IX's entire population of 2,473 beings. The station's AI tried to warn him, "Sir, these system modifications could result in silence." Zixtal hissed, his crest twitching spasmodically. "I must know the truth." The chaos began at precisely 1500 hours. Primary power failed, backup systems crashed, life support started fluctuating. The artificial gravity went haywire, creating pockets of 0G interspersed with high G zones. Temperature controls failed section by section. The station descended into panic. Species from across the galaxy ran for the escape pods. Security teams scrambled. Medical staff rushed to assist the injured. And there was Dave, moving through it all, like he was born for this moment. "Okay folks, stay calm." His voice carried over the emergency channel. This is just like that time on Europa Station during the methane storm. Follow the emergency lights to the evacuation zones. Watch out for the gravity fluctuations. Treat it like a bounce house. Zixtal watched in fascination as Dave navigated the chaos. He ran through high G zones like they were normal, used zero-G sections to quickly move between decks, and seemed to know exactly where every problem was before it became critical. Secondary reactors going critical. Dave called out while simultaneously helping an elderly Venusian couple to safety. No problem. Just like that submarine incident in the Marianas Trench, the station shuddered. Warning klaxon screamed about imminent structural failure. Everyone out except essential personnel, Dave ordered, now somehow managing to repair 3 different systems while carrying a scared Andromean child to their parents. Don't worry, I've got this. Reminds me of that time in the Amazon, when the research station got hit by both a flood and a volcanic eruption during a hurricane. Zixtal, hidden in his observation post, watched in awe, as Dave single-handedly prevented a complete station collapse. The human moved with impossible speed and efficiency, solving complex engineering problems while spouting encouraging words and random stories about even worse situations he'd supposedly survived. Almost got it, Dave called out cheerfully while hanging upside down in a radioactive zero-G section with failing life support. This is actually easier than that time I had to fix the quantum accelerator during an earthquake while making breakfast. 4 hours later, the station was stabilized. The evacuated residents returned to find everything not just fixed, but somehow running better than before. Well, that was exciting, Dave said, covered in grease and sporting another radiation tan. Nothing like a good crisis to get the blood pumping. Anyone up for pizza? All this running around made me hungry. Log entry, day 40. Subject cannot be human. No mortal being could. I need a drink. The betting pool had evolved into a religious movement, with Dave unknowingly acquiring followers who believed him to be a maintenance deity in human form. The station's AI had compiled the security footage into an action thriller that became the highest-grossing entertainment product in 3 sectors. Meanwhile, Dave filed his shift report, routine maintenance plus some minor system hiccups. Could use more coffee in the engineering break room. Zixtal, watching Dave cheerfully explain to a group of wide-eyed junior engineers how this was no big deal compared to that time on Mars, finally accepted that some mysteries in the universe were better left unsolved. Zixtal sat in Delta 9's bar, downing his 7th Regellian brandy when his worst nightmare appeared. Hey buddy, Dave's eternal cheerfulness made him flinch. Haven't seen you since that crazy system failure. I'm joining a monastery, Zixtal blurted. Far away, very far. Oh cool, need help fixing there? No, I mean they're allergic to humans. Fatally allergic. Terrible tragedy if you visited. You know, Dave grinned. I never properly thanked you for all those interesting situations lately. The hot sauce, the gravity workout, that awesome psychedelic light show. Zixtal's scales went pale. You knew. Well yeah, the encryption patterns were pretty consistent. Plus they made action figures of us. Look, tiny vials of deadly hot sauce included. Zixtal stood so fast he knocked over 3 chairs. My transport leaves now. Want me to send you my radioactive chili recipe? The former assassin's scream echoed through 3 decks as he fled toward the docking bay. Final log entry, day 75. Departing for furthest point from Earth in known space. Still feels too close. Must remember to fake own death if Dave tries to visit. Note to self, request monastery room without maintenance access. The station's AI preserved the security footage of Zixtal's departure, particularly his Olympic-worthy sprint when Dave tried to give him a goodbye hug. Dave kept the action figure on his workbench, occasionally using it to explain proper hot source safety protocols to new crew members. And somewhere in the furthest reaches of space, a former assassin still wakes up screaming from nightmares about cheerful humans whistling while surviving the impossible. The monastery's maintenance, however, has never been better. Dave Thompson timeline killer human. How hard can it be?